Looking back at past random reviews, I noticed a distinct lack of Energon, and I kinda know why. I don't like going through all those modes that Energon Autobots can turn into, but you know what? I love you guys, so we're going to do one today, as if Energon equaled love for so many out there. This is Roadblock, one of the later deluxe releases of the Energon line, and a pretty thorough remold of Inferno. This one kind of hits me in an interesting way because it's one of the first figures I know of that was intentionally designed with a second head and alternate parts in mind. We kind of take that for granted today because it's such a common thing, especially in the combiner wars that we have going on now. But back in the Unicron trilogy, this level of remolding was almost unheard of. I think the only example I can remember before this would have been Wolfang and K9. I don't know if Wolfang was specifically designed to become K9 one day or if they just did that after the fact. But this same line, almost the same year, one toy comes out and so does the other. In something that was normally done today, was very rare back then. As you can see, he is a crane truck. Very kind of simple, almost like an emergency crane truck, because the crane is not very long itself. Doesn't look like it can hold up that much. Seems like it's more for handling like a roadside accident rather than, massive pieces of steel or something that G1 grapple would be. And yeah, it is kind of G1 grapple with all that yellow plastic. It's a great shade of yellow, by the way. It's not so bright that it's blotting out details, but it's not dark enough to go into any like unpleasant shades. This is a nice vivid yellow color. Quite like how this is done. I also like how much silver has been painted to the cab section to kind of separate it out and give you the kind of the impression that the cab and the actual truck are separate units. It's very interesting, and it makes it very distinct from Inferno. Quite a good thing. Now, for remolded parts, it's mostly the stuff that you see in the brown. So, along the sides, for instance, you can see some extra utility boxes and such. Pretty much the same thing on both sides. You see a completely different bumper, which now has hazard striping molded in as well as painted. And, of course, the biggest detail is the fire hose has now been completely replaced with the crane with its own cab and all. Much smaller cab than what's going on up here. This is the adult seat, this is the child seat, and I don't know why you'd let the child control the crane, but there you go. Also, head. Yes, he has a new head too, and it sticks out very obviously there. At the very least, it's completely covered like a piece of machinery on top of the truck. What kind of machinery, I don't know. But it's better than the two little flaps that Inferno had. Energon just had this problem with like exposed heads for some reason, but it seems like only Ironhide gets flack for that. So beyond that, what else is going on? Well, we got some translucent red in the front, as well as creating the light bar. A little bit of red on the sides, as well as silver going up here. Some blue paint going on. And then to the back, bumper section molded in. Kind of a step up for anyone who's brave enough to cling onto this guy. And very obvious robot mode fists with nothing covering them up. But hey, it is what it is. Oh yeah, painted rims as well, because we were in that day when everything got painted. So beyond that, he still shows a little bit of his fire truck with molding, such as some exposed pipes left over, as well as a reel over here, which is clearly a reel for a hose, but hey, it could be for an extension cord or something. That's what your imagination is for. Other things to note, he does have Minicon ports on both sides, because Energon didn't have many actual Minicon gimmicks, but they still included the pegs if you wanted last year's toys to work on these, as well as this year's gimmick, which was the Energon Star, which you can see molded in here. You can see the Energon Spark Crystal inside, Blazing Autobot logo. I always kind of liked how that looked. And then if we see over there, it is a silver Powerlinx emblem, so this is compatible with pretty much anyone else that has one of those. Now, before we get to robot mode, a little bit of gimmick to show off. If we turn this cab, the arm does spin along with it. That's a very simple little bit of gimmick that isn't too bad. Now, you'll notice, it's a little bit strange. I can't quite get these to, I can't get both of them straight for some reason. But it is what it is. Inferno had the same gimmick going on, but it was the water tank in the back that rotated. Also, aside from the hook, which has a hinge, this also does angle up, and it can rotate independently on its own, though it's detented to very specific spots. You also notice it's supposed to have a standard blue missile of very generic design, which is unfortunately not included because I still can't find my Energon bag and all the parts that are inside it. Oh well. But you're not missing much. It's just a standard blue missile, and I kind of taken to not including missiles in reviews because I've had way too many takes where I've had to completely reshoot the video because it went flying off somewhere. Alright, enough babbling. Let's get to robot mode. These are the Energon days where everything is pretty solid and simple. Aside from a few pegs, nothing really holds these things in position. Like, that peg is the only thing that held the rear of the vehicle mode into position. Let me come up here, unpeg one peg. See this? I don't even have to, like, nothing tabs, no panels to hide, no backpack to form. Things just went where they were supposed to go, and they were solid when they did it. That's cool engineering, and that's what I really like to see still. Now we can get his head lifted up like so. Expose that. Now, angle everything correctly, because it's kind of a weird slant his torso is going to have. But with it done, we can actually officially say Roadblock is in his full robot mode. Looking very bulky, very stocky, very, very solid. This is pretty much what Energon brought to the table, especially in the Autobots. They had big brick robot modes, very solid looking, very, very heavy construction. I know kids broke these all the time, but man, it must have been a difficult trick. So let's take a look at that newly sculpted head, which is unfortunately a little bit closed off thanks to this. Can I get a light to actually show off the underside of there? Yeah. About as good as I can get. Yeah, it's covered up quite a bit. I do like the head. It's a very different design, very heavy feel to it. Not much Inferno left. I get the feeling this could have been an alternate character if they wanted to, but instead, it's just Inferno with a bit of an upgrade and a new name, so it is what it is. Alright, put that back. Try not to break expensive new lights I got for Christmas. Oh yeah, I might as well flip these out too, because I kind of goofed that. I'm sure someone already tried to correct me in there. Alright, so what do we got going on? It's mostly the same vehicle mode parts, so not a whole lot of new stuff to talk about. Do have some new bits of blue now that the hands are completely exposed. You can also see it in the elbows as well as covering the knees. The big thing here is a lot more brown is now present since we've gotten it out of the back. The arms themselves are about the only part that was really hidden away, so that's really bringing a lot more of that brown to the table. And consolidating it all here with the wheels, the feet, and the side pieces really brings that color in, as kind of taking over from the silver as a prominent color. The proportions on this guy, aside from just being really heavy built, are kind of interesting because it's not just, a straight on, like you'd normally expect a Transformer to be. There's a downslope to his torso that you can see here. So this is the front, and the head that's really about the only way the head can look forward. You can see it's all on this big row of hinges and double hinges and all kinds of things, and pegs in to the back there. So that's the correct angle. It looks a little bit odd from certain angles, but actually kind of works out and gives him something of a unique look, even though his transformation is quite simple. Also, you might have noticed he gets a little bit side heavy because of that big arm weapon. Now, if you're not a fan of that, and I actually kind of like this better than actually having like a water hose stuck to his arm, because, hey, I think it's kind of cool that he can just reach over and hook a Decepticon. That's kind of neat. Very Scorpion-esque. it is completely removable. So you can set that aside and get some better balance for him if you want. Because, of course, who wouldn't want some better balance to their action figures? But hey, you also have a standard handheld peg for this, so it can go right where you would normally expect a Transformer weapon to go, and now all that balance is going forward rather than to the side. So we've really just changed one gravitational challenge for another, but it's a completely optional one, so, do whichever one you feel must be done. But we're going to leave it off for now so I can go ahead and show off some articulation on this guy. The head is ball jointed, so left and right, up and down, all around, all that pretty good. Shoulders can rotate right here at the base of the torso as well as extend outward like this, so full universal range, that's good. Bicep, well, actually elbow rotation just below the elbows, and the elbows themselves are to the 90-degree, but there is a big detent in there. So there's some positions that get a little bit limited. Do we have a wrist? No, we don't have a wrist. And yes, I'm twisting really hard to make sure. I know we don't have a waist because a lot of these Energon figures did not have a waist because of the Powerlinx gimmick. But we do have thigh swivels as well as knees that have a really good range. And then the feet, which have both heel and toe that can bend inward. So a lot of range of motion there. Not only is he big and stocky, he actually doesn't do all that bad. The hips are a little bit hindered, unfortunately. It's just because there's just no room in there, the way he transforms and the way he works. But hey, not everything's perfect. So at this point, I'm going to resituate the camera because we've got another mode to show off here. And this takes a little bit of extra room. Because, of course, the whole point of the Autobots is the Powerlinx gimmick, where one becomes a torso, one becomes pants, and then they become one. Torso and pants together. Like a pantso. I don't know. But hey, this is what we have Inferno for. Inferno pretty much makes the best and most solid set of legs. It also makes for a shortcut in this review because his leg mode is pretty much this, except a little bit of blue and a lot of bit of brown and yellow. So I think you can do the imagination from there. There aren't any new parts exposed. It's pretty much just the truck mode kind of split down the middle. So we are going to focus on getting this guy into his torso mode, which is no big task. We fold the feet together to create those. This section all gets to fold up and we expose this. And I love this. I've always loved this combination system. It's so solid. There's so many like extra connection points going on here. So at this point, I'm going to fold up the head so it can rest roundabouts there. Just like so. You'll see the hinges all have pegs and everything where everything is supposed to go in, so well, it would help if it was actually on camera. So you actually kind of fold all of that up and then make sure the head is seated right down there on that peg. So rotate all of this up. Legs get rotated like so. That big knee bend helps a lot for this. And that goes up like that. So with that in place, we go ahead and combine Inferno to himself. Come on. Big, heavy, solid connection points. Yes. And there we go. We have Powerlinx Roadblock with Powerlinx Inferno attached on. This is pretty heavy. I always thought Inferno did this gimmick in one of the best ways. I like that he didn't just turn his legs into the arms because everyone does that. But I also like it because, A, it lets him have these huge over-the-shoulder guns, and I really like over-the-shoulder weapons like that. But I also like that it leaves his arms alone. His arms had really good articulation, and now all of it is still there. It's completely preserved. So you actually have something of a non-brick Powerlinx figure. Oh, sure, the legs are still brick as all get out. There's no articulation outside of moving to the outside and the aforementioned inner feet hinges. But beyond that, that's pretty much what we got going on here. Still, I think they makes a really good torso. And I think both of them really do. Because again, you can kind of imagine one if you see the other. Also, I think the torso mode works out better just because I think it's a little bit more solid. And it doesn't have anything questionable like this. Because in the leg mode, Roadblock and thus Inferno's head kind of ends up there with no other place to go. It's a very unfortunate location. There is Potus Manus, and then there's Potus Cranium, I guess. I don't know. Like he's got his head is in his butt. I'm not gonna cherry coat that for you. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like it's kind of a weird spot. But I do like the combination, and I think it really like proportionally balances out well too. So that, my friends, is Energon Roadblock, one of the original toys to have all the benefits of a reshelled and remolded and recasted character that we now kind of take for granted in modern Transformers. He's something of a forebearer to the engineering system we have today. That may make you hate him or love him, depending on how you think of the engineering today.